Welcome to, in my opinion, the best sales call recording live breakdown on YouTube. And that is for the high ticket sales guru space. I don't like to be associated with the word guru, but I'm kind of lumped into that category now of helping people go from zero to hero, 0 to 10K a month with high ticket sales specifically. What I'm about to show you is a full length sales call, exactly what it's like, exactly the way the conversation unfolds with a full step-by-step breakdown. It is one thing to post a call recording to display your competence, but it is another thing to break it down live with zero cuts to really demonstrate your level of competency around sales. Am I saying I'm the best sales trainer? Of course not. Am I saying I'm the best salesperson in the world? Of course not. But I like to think that I'm pretty good. And in comparison to a lot of people on YouTube, I feel like I've practiced a lot more. I feel like I've worked a lot more at this skill, and I feel I'm a lot more competent than a lot of the other people that you might see on YouTube. And I'm very confident saying so. So, with that said, what you're about to see is a full length call recording of me selling for another company and exactly what it could be like if you were to get into this career of sales and actually look at learning this skill. This is exactly how these calls go, and you're going to see everything unfold in front of you. One last thing I want to emphasize before we jump into the call recording. If you see people post call recordings on YouTube publicly that are teaching people to get into high ticket sales, or the gurus or marketers as I like to call them, if a call recording is posted of them selling their own stuff, it does not count. Why? Because it is not proof that they have sold to a level of competency for other strangers and other companies. Very clear to understand that. If someone has posted a call recording of them selling their own stuff, it is significantly easier to that compared to being a stranger for another company and another offer. I wanted to kind of nip that in the bud because I see a lot of people posting call recordings, selling their own stuff, and really that doesn't count in my mind because it is too easy to do so. In fact, I don't really think it's selling at all. Okay, so yes, I did say that. So hopefully you enjoy this call recording. Hopefully you enjoy this breakdown. And of course, if you do, definitely feel free to share it around because I've put a lot of effort into this, and I could charge 97 to 150 bucks for this, but I want to give a lot of value to you, my subscribers on my YouTube channel, and the small audience that I have of a few hundred people that constantly watch my YouTube videos. So hopefully you get some value, and I'll see you guys in the call recording. All right, guys, let's jump straight into the call recording. But before we do, I'm just going to give you a little bit of context of where we're meeting this lead, so just so you have a bit of a better and more clear understanding of the way that I'm approaching the call. And I'll explain that as we go through, but a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be doing will not make sense if you do not understand the context. So first thing is, what am I selling? In this case and scenario, it was a training program helping people start their own digital marketing business from scratch if they've never made money online before. I believe it was around $4,000 to $5,000, and this offer particularly, I was making about 8 to 12K a month really consistently for about a year and the time that I was working on it. Now, where I'm actually meeting this prospect is at the point of where he's already been triaged. Now, if you're a beginner and you don't understand what triaging means, let me just briefly explain that for those that are new. Really what triaging is like a qualification call. It's a filtration method that usually goes for about 5 to 15 minutes with 3 main objectives. Number 1 is finding out, is this person sellable? So do we have something we can sell to the person, right? Otherwise, if they make it to the next call, there's probably going to waste everyone's time. Number 2 is the different micro qualifications that is required from the salesperson and the sales process in the company. This could be money, time, and partner objections, which again aren't all necessary, but it's going to be unique to the individual. And then third and final objective is to get them to show up to the next call from the 5 to 15 minute conversation. And that is where I'm meeting the prospect. At the time, I had someone who was triaging my calls. So I was taking anywhere between 3 and 5 calls a day, usually maximum 5, and on a very quiet day, 3. And that's where I was meeting the leads. It wasn't just a fresh conversation. That was where the leads have come from and the level of marketing that I've experienced up until that point. And I think they've probably watched, a 30 or 45-minute webinar or presentation about what it is we do and what it is we offer. Okay, so that's the context. Let's go ahead and dive straight into the sales call.
Hey mate, can you hear and see me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Awesome, man. How you doing?
I thought I got it wrong. So sorry for that. I'm going good.
No.
Okay, so one bit of context I forgot to add here is with this particular prospect, he had actually no-showed me. And he was 10, 15 minutes late, somewhere in that range. And so typically what most salespeople do when they get a no-show is they become passive-aggressive, they become almost super rude, and they feel like their authority has been challenged. And a really big tip here is to understand that when someone no-shows to a call, it's not because they hate you, but things can come up. Maybe there wasn't enough reminders. There could have been an emergency. Honestly, who knows? So it's very important to approach when you call someone who's no-showed to an appointment with you with a very soft, neutral tonality before you find out the actual situation. Because I've been put in situations before where I've assumed the worst, where they've had ill intent, but a lot of the times it's something came up, they forgot. Usually most people don't intentionally no-show your calls. And so I called this prospect up and I said, hey man, I've just been waiting for you on Zoom for about 10 minutes now. Have you lost the link? Did something come up? What's kind of going on there? And he told me that he actually had forgot and had not set his alarm or something like that. So in that point in time, that is still a relatively innocent thing, but we also kind of want to realign the status here and the frame for the salesperson and the company you're selling for. So I asked him, is this a priority for you right now? And started to push him away a little bit. And he said, absolutely, 100%, I'm so sorry. And that's why we're meeting him here, where he is basically just saying, I'm so sorry about that, X, Y, and Z. So hopefully you have just a little bit of context as to why he's apologizing.
That's okay, man. So it looks like Noah it booked you on my calendar today, just about possibly looking for some ways to start your own marketing agency, right? Your own business. Yep. Now, really the first part of this call is really just more for us together to kind of find out more about your background, what you've done in the past and kind of what you're doing now. And then really like what I would say is what you're actually looking for, like just to see if we could actually help you, because, sometimes like there are just some certain people that there's not much we can really do for them. You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to break down this frame just very briefly. So there is many different frames that you can use in different sales processes. And in my mind, the goal of setting a frame for a call, the primary objective is to not convince yourself that you can force a prospect to really do anything at the end of the call. At the end of the day, with my belief in sales, you can make it, you cannot force someone to say yes, but you can make it very difficult to say no. And the main intention with this frame is to, number one, set the expectations of the conversation on where it is going. Otherwise, if you just ask a bunch of questions, the prospect is wondering where it's going and what your intentions actually are, right? So I usually find it's good to set the intention of where you want the direction of the conversation to go, or where, again, you want the conversation to go. And then paired with that is the final part there of, because sometimes there are just some certain people that there's not much we can really do for them. Really what this is doing is taking a step back in neutral form, and the prospect now thinks, hey, I actually might not be sold today. And another variation to that as well is that not only do they think they're not going to be sold, but some prospects in some certain contexts and scenarios will think that they will have to begin selling to you, right? So it's a very subtle change. With the right tonality and the right wording, this frame can be very, very effective. You definitely want to avoid saying at the end of the call, you have to tell me yes or no, because you're in essence pressuring someone into doing something, which is not what good sales is about. Good sales ultimately is about at the end of the day, internal influence and internal persuasion, as opposed to external pressure, external influence.
For sure. Now, I guess I was curious, when you went through the ad where you saw Zane talking about like wanting to start your own agency, I guess like what was it that Like, what was it that kind of attracted your attention?
So this question can be asked in many different forms. It can be the same as what brought you to booking this call with me today, or what inspired you to again take the time out of your day to come and have a conversation with me. Really, all that we're looking to do with any sales process at the beginning of a sales call is just find out why are they there, what is their initial goal, and like what are they looking to achieve. This could be to lose more weight. This could be to date more people to find their dream partner. This could be to generate more leads to the business. This could be to sell more. There's a million different problems that you can solve in sales, obviously. And so all we're looking for is some type of initial goal.
Look, I've been in maintenance for about 25 years of my life. Doing I'm a fitter and turner by trade.
Mm-hmm.
I studied financial management or business management before I started the trade,
Okay.
and I've only actually really done the trade to immigrate.
Okay.
But got stuck in the framework of it because people don't, or you don't necessarily get an opportunity to change your direction once you're in it.
Okay.
So 6 months ago, I've done training in America with it's a guy called Jim Fortin, which is personal development and transformation coaching.
Savage. Nice.
At the same time, I joined Shane Forsat, which is he's in Australia. He does hypnotherapy and business development. Didn't get as much out of that as I wanted to. I got the hypnotherapy, and I've actually stopped attending the business part of it. I have twice gone through everything from sub-zero to try and create my business. So what I initially thought is with the coaching with Jim Fortin.
So you can observe here, the prospect is talking a lot and is in essence waffling is what I can say here. So tangenting, and so you find a lot of the times prospects will talk a lot, and you need to be able to have the right techniques and the right skills to tactfully interrupt the prospect so they don't blow out your calls to be too long. He's talked about a lot of stuff which is maybe interesting but not necessarily productive to the conversation. So you hear me constantly having verbal touch points like I see what you're saying, right? I hear you, right? And that's very important to have throughout the conversation so that you can interrupt in the right way, which you'll see me do that shortly here.
He said, get yourself out of your job, start a business. You can do absolutely anything you want to. So I have the automated part of the market is what really got me really tied up. I tried to do everything without paying too much for it and without getting too much help. And I procrastinated. I got so bad at it that I just lost complete interest in going into my office and actually trying to pick it up.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things here. I can tell that I've probably written down the word procrastination because earlier on, we already know what the objection is going to be if we don't pre-handle it, which is, I would like to think about it, right? This is where we're at. So we want to identify patterns and behaviors that prospects have done in the past and present, because that's what they're likely to do in the future, and that's likely what concerns and objections they're going to give. So I'm going to assume that's specifically what I've written down there.
No, so, I can see what you're saying. We'll dive more into that for sure, and I think that's important.
You can also see me interrupting the prospect at this point. I've realized that he's talked for too long, and so we need to move on to the next point of discussion so we can move the call along productively instead of just focusing on interesting conversation that's really just fluff.
Touch on. And I think it makes a lot of sense, man, because like you're in that transition from working for another company, right, as an employee to running your own business, right? There's two completely different mindsets when you're in that transitional process. As an employee, things are safe, things are known, and they're not risky, and it's okay to procrastinate because you've got somebody else controlling your income and controlling you, right? Absolutely. But when you transition to your own business, you're really going to need to have the mindset of stepping into the unknown, taking risks, not procrastinating, and actually getting after it. Do you see what I'm saying with that?
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
So what I did just there is something that's quite advanced, and it's called what is an identity label or an identity reframe. And really what we're doing is we're positioning the prospect as normalizing the transition between an identity he has now an identity that he wants to have. And the identity that he has now, we can label with negative characteristics. The identity that we want him to have, that he wants to have, we can label with positive characteristics, like making decisions, right? How they think, how they behave, right? How they act. And so later on during objection handling, things become a lot easier because all that we're doing is we have already established the transition. We've already normalized that earlier in the piece. So when we get any type of objection later on, all it is that we are doing is we are pairing up, we are teaming up together to find a solution of how they can transition from the current identity they have to the current identity that he wants and desires.
You've been in maintenance for about 25 years now. I guess, do you like what you're doing for a living?
No, I actually absolutely hate my job.
What don't you like about it?
So using this particular question is going to get us problems, right? So what don't you like about your current job? What don't you like about your current way of doing things? Because in this case, the prospect wants to make more money and do something different, right? Run their own business. And so their current way of making money is obviously his maintenance job. And so we're going to find out what he doesn't like about his maintenance job so we can pull out the specific problems.
At the moment, I'm only working night shift.
Okay.
12 hours. That's why I said I jumped out back in bed because I absolutely cannot go without sleeping if I go to work tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other part of it is, sorry, I just, it's not what I wanted to do in life. It's not what I wanted to do for, a lot of times I've said, I hate the fact that I actually procrastinate or hate going to work.
So we're going to hear the word procrastinate come up yet again, which is very important to note.
The first night is one of the worst. I feel like crap all day and I don't want to go to work, but because I know that's what I got to do to create an income, you go, but it's not something I enjoy.
Would you say it's being a little bit like on a hamster wheel?
Oh, and absolutely. The thing is, the other thing I know about it is we fill the pockets of somebody which I can be doing something that I might enjoy doing, plus creating an income for myself or a better way of life to that extreme.
No, I can see what you're saying. And I mean, how long have you kind of felt like you kind of been on this hamster wheel, like you mentioned?
So what we're specifically doing again here is a little bit advanced, but what we're doing is we're labeling the prospect with a title or a word, or again, a label to attach to the problem or the emotion, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the word hamster wheel in the presentation later on. So very specifically, the prospect is tying the problem and the emotion towards a label that we've given them. And what you'll find is you can label the prospect with a word, and as long as it's somewhat relatable, like the word hamster wheel, they will often say yes. So with what you're saying, it feels like you're saying like you're in a bit of like a hamster wheel, and they'll say yes. And then you can ask them to expand on the word that you've already labeled with the problem, right? Which is, again, very advanced, but very, very powerful if you do it in the right way, and can create a very strong emotional connection and a very strong visual connection between the problem and your solution that you're going to present at the end of the call.
Well, Connor, I've probably more than 15 years. I've invested in so many business modules in trade markets. I have thrown money away left, right, and center, and I haven't found anything with substance. Every time you enroll in something, it's almost the same with this hypnotherapy from Zane. The stuff he gets is single-minded, and just I don't see you creating or turning it into a feasible business module. It hasn't got all the.
No, I can see for sure, and I think we need to explore that as well.
So again, you can see me interrupting the prospect because it's not going to really go anywhere that's super productive for me, especially when I want to talk about, in my mind, specifically the parts of what he's explaining now. I want to talk about that a little bit later on. I've still got a few objectives I want to tick off in this phase I'm in right now.
I mean, this been going on for like the past 15 years though. Like, has that had like an impact on you?
Yes, I've the last 6 years I've been struggling with depression.
Yeah.
I've been suicidal for quite a while as well. I'm not happy in life. I generally have lost. But the good thing about me is I'm a go-getter. I don't stop. I just keep doing what I need to do.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's time to make a change, possibly.
Oh, absolutely. I am so sick of what I'm doing. I'm just in real spin sometimes.
Okay. I mean, just so I can maybe see the rationale, right? So besides obviously, being on this hamster wheel like we talked about, like
Yep.
what's maybe like the main, reason you're looking to possibly start your own marketing business, your digital marketing business? You mentioned automation, rather
Um,
than just maybe all the other kind of business models that you found out there.
So this particular question can go many different ways. In particular, I asked why this business model as opposed to everything else. So with this question, the way that it's designed is we're going to find out, again, why he wants to do this business model as opposed to everything else that he's found and he's been distracted with in the past, like hypnotherapy, coaching, and a bunch of other different business models he's tried in the past. This can be asked again in many different ways. But for example, what's the main reason why you're looking to get some outside possible help now, as opposed to maybe just doing it the way that you've been doing it or trying to figure it out on your own? Again, getting the prospect to think and doubt their current way of thinking and their current way of doing things, right? Which is a really, really good question. Or better yet, have the intention to get the prospect to solve the do-it-yourself objection, which again will prevent them from saying, hey, I think this is really good, but I'd like to try it on my own, because they've already told you why what they're doing isn't working, and they've told you why they need outside help, right?
I have actually, I've never done this. My wife and I were stricken against mediums and astrologists, and she's done a reading for me last year, and she said this year is going to be my year. I'm going to make an absolute change in my life, and I'm going to meet somebody, which I now have almost tied towards being Zane.
Yeah.
That's going to offer something that's just going to change my whole empathy around life. And I need some change, and I really need something positive that will draw me over the line.
No, I can definitely see what you're saying. Now, I guess there's going to be an important thing. So, I mean, before you met me, like you mentioned, you talked about, you've looked at so many different businesses, you've started them, you've stopped them, you've procrastinated, you've got the value that you're looking for. Just run me through. You mentioned you've done quite a few things, and you mentioned that you've done like the hypnotherapy business, Jim Fulton, like all these kinds of guys.
Yeah.
I guess, what if anything do you feel? So, did you get the results you're looking for when you did those kinds of programs?
So this is kind of me coming to the realization of the question I actually wanted to ask, mid asking another question that's in my script and process. So usually in most cases, in fact, all cases, I'm going to be asking what the prospect has tried in the past in terms of getting to where they want to go. And again, that can be to anything related, fitness related, lead generation related, whatever the problem is the prospect is encountering and going through. And so I kind of realized, again, mid-sentence, the question I wanted to ask. So I just went ahead and asked that anyway. Again, I want to reference that this call is around 2 to 3 years old. I'm pretty sure like 3 years old. I'm pretty sure. So again, lots has improved since then, but I just wanted to point that out.
Not at all. I've, for instance, over the last few years, I've actually just about bought into a car detailing business. It's all physical work. I've actually created a product that you can use on plastics that rejuvenates it.
Okay.
But the way to get it out there, I had to go to car dealers and actually put it on the bumpers and stuff and show them that it works.
Yeah, that could be some trouble because that kind of falls back in the time for money principle as well. And so with what you've been doing, what do you feel, if anything, doing all these trainings and getting this outside help, what do you feel has actually prevented you from getting from where you are now to where you want to go?
So this is a very important question to ask, to establish with the prospect, not me just telling him. I probably know the answer at this point, which is he's just bouncing from training to training to training to training and just kind of falling into that shiny object syndrome element. But I want him to tell me the answer, not the other way around. And so I'm going to ask, what do you think personally has been the problem? What do you think has been the biggest roadblock from getting from where you are now to where you want to go? And we're either going to handle a limiting belief or a limiting mindset, or we're going to get further information and goal that we can use in our solution, in our presentation, so that our solution looks a lot more appealing and he's confident and convinced and persuaded that what we do is actually going to help him get to where he wants to go.
Having solid structure with something with the right sort of tools to actually drive it. So one thing that was a big fork in the works for me as a business or creating a business was the same thing, getting the funnel work done and getting clients to land in my position, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like if anything, so I mean, to make sure that you're successful with, starting a business, you need some structure, you need the right tools, and I guess the right strategies to get clients. Is there anything else that you
Absolutely.
feel like you might need to kind of get to where you want to go?
So this is again me asking, what does the prospect see that is the ideal solution? So I can give that back to him in the presentation and make my solution look a lot more appealing and instill confidence that he's going to get where he wants to go ultimately.
Well, my biggest reason why I was going for personal development and training is the fact that
Yeah.
I've always had a great tendency to speak to crowds, and I
Yeah.
am not afraid to put myself out there to get what I want to get. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I have a lot of benefits. I'm a go-getter. I don't things don't normally scare me or hold me back. I'm not afraid, and especially when I do it for myself, when it's
Yeah.
something that's generating income, that I know that I have to stick to. My only issue is with what I've done before with the trying to set up business was the fact that I had no real structure. I didn't understand how the new marketing automation part of business works, and there's a lot of tools out there, but I just didn't have the money to spend on it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So one thing we're going to be pocketing for later is highlighting the importance that he doesn't need any tools. We cover all the tools, which is something that we offer in the present or the solution that we provide. And we're going to be highlighting that. We're going to be writing that down and we're going to be using that later.
Having all those tools and strategy in place is quite important to you. Now,
Yeah.
can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
How long have you felt like this procrastination's been going on? I guess like the analysis paralysis and things like that.
The procrastination hasn't been too long. What we said is I finished the 2 courses, and
Mhm.
I'm still paying some of it off. So
Yeah.
we were busy saving money for a house, and my wife didn't want me to use the money.
Yeah.
But she's changed the job, and now building the house has fallen through. So I've got money in the bank.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So good signs. He says he's got money in the bank, which is good.
it's not fallen through, but it's been put on hold for 6 months until she's got experience.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question anyway.
For sure. I guess maybe I can kind of rephrase it, right? So you mentioned.
Now, the reason why I'm asking this question again is because he didn't really give me a straight answer. And he also said that procrastination wasn't the problem, which it absolutely is. And that's prevented him from getting the results in the past. So not only do I need to pre-handle this from a perspective of making the sale, but I also need to turn him into a good client for the business so he actually gets the results he's looking for. Because if I don't establish the right expectations now, or I don't help him uncover that now, he may just very well repeat that same process he's done with multiple other training programs, and he may very well jump in and I may very well get my commissions, but he's not going to follow through and do the things required to get the result he's looking for.
Procrastination and like analysis paralysis has been trouble for you in the past, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with what you're doing, like how long have you kind of felt that way about, procrastination kind of being like a blockage, do you think?
I was coming to that. That was what happened. I didn't have the money to actually go and invest into business development and help to actually get me there. And me banging my head against the wall, I've created a lot of good things out there, but it's taken me, instead of things that would have taken 2 days, was taking me 2 months. And I got to a point where I actually got depressed and thought, this is not going to help me. This is not what I want. And I just got so upset because I'm not getting there. I could have done this with the right help. I could have actually set it up within days. It would have been
Can I make a suggestion?
ready to go. Yes.
Do you see how not getting that outside help has, actually kept you from, getting to where you want to go and actually kept you in the same position that you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is me going in for handling the procrastination objection that we're going to get at the end of the call, right? Think about objection, right? Fear, concern, right? Fear of himself, right? That he's not going to actually follow through and do the right things.
Do you want to change that?
Yeah, that's.
Do you want to change that, right? Not me telling him he should change that. It's, do you want to change that? So we're linking in another hook. Do you want to change that? He says yes. And then I'm going to say, why now though?
That's why I'm here with you.
Okay. Why now though?
Again, getting him to dig his feet in the sand as to why he needs to change, not the other way around. A quote that I want you to remember is, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. I think that's from Dale Carnegie. And so if we focus on instead getting the prospect to influence and persuade themselves, this is where you'll find you will often make more sales, right? If we're trying to externally convince someone that they should change, you're going to find it's going to be a lot less persuasive.
The product that Zane's offering
Yeah.
absolutely tells me it is going to work. It is the right thing for the market. And I have been given an opportunity for something so great that if I pass on this, I would be an absolute fool.
Well, he's not that cool. I'm sure he probably appreciate you saying that.
So this is one I learned from my mentor Jeremy, which is well, you know, he's not that cool. And typically what you'll find is the prospect will actually blow up in proportion. So actually be super happy and again, what's the word that I'm trying to use here? They will happily, again, blow up the expectation of the person that you're working with, the company that you're working with, and they'll say, it's amazing, it's the best, and so on and so on. And this is great because when you put yourself down, they will put it up, right? Which is playing to our advantage because he's selling himself as to why the company you're selling for and the solution you're offering is so great.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Great product.
Yeah.
I can understand he's probably gone through the same sort of shit as I did before he got to create it.
So you hear him say, no, that sounds like a great product. It sounds like amazing. It's exactly what I'm getting to do on purpose.
Yeah, and we all did, right? And that's the entrepreneurial experience. But like I mentioned, it's that transition from employee to entrepreneur. Once you make that transition, it's so much less difficult, right? Now, okay, that makes sense. So, I mean, I guess let's talk about, like the money, right? So you mentioned you wanted to make more money, especially for, like the time for money principle there. Now, I've never worked in maintenance, right? But I do know that when you are working for another company, you're fairly limited on what they're going to pay you, like a salary, like a per hour kind of thing. So without that limit there, like what do you ideally want to be making in your own agency, like per month, do you think?
Well,
so this particular question is just asking for the goal, pretty simply. How much money do they want to make? What is the goalpost they're moving towards? So we can find out what is their desired situation, what is their desired state, what is the heaven, right, as you see in many different sales processes, and just basically future pacing to where they want to go.
Moment I'm on 112,000 a year.
Yeah.
So theoretically, I need to get to the 10,000 mark at least.
Okay. Yeah, to replace the income. Okay.
Yep.
And so let's say you're able to do that. You come in, with the team, you talk to Zane, you get the right training, the right tools and strategy, like you mentioned. I guess if you're able to achieve that, I mean, if you're able to run your own business and, 10,000 per month of profits, right? How might things maybe be different than they are now?
So this question, I'm specifically looking for the logical tie downs towards the goal. So more time with my family, better house, better car, these types of things. I'm looking for the logical stuff that he gets when he achieves the goal.
Well, yeah, I just not having to work on a time schedule that I'm on at the moment. The worst part about the night shift is you come home and you're out of the game for a full day because you're catching up on sleep. You don't function really well if you don't get the correct sleep the day before you start, and every day becomes harder. So it is not an easy. It's not an easy place to be. It's a bit of a The biggest thing I'm looking for this year is happiness and peace.
Yeah.
And I think that I can get it through this. I'm pretty sure I can.
If you're able to do that, like what would that do for you, maybe like personally, do you think?
So this particular question is designed to invoke emotional response. So what would that do for you, maybe like personally, or how would it make you feel to do that? What this is going to do is I'd be less stressed, I'd feel more fulfilled, I'd feel more on purpose. These are the types of answers that you're typically going to hear.
Oh, I will definitely find a way to get rid of the depression and the procrastination, and it'll make life a lot easier.
Okay. I guess what's going to happen if you don't do anything about this? You don't get the right skills, the right training, right? You're just stuck in the same, hamster wheel, like you mentioned, and this just keeps going on. Where you're catching up on sleep, you're still working the night shift, and you still got this depression going on for the next, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years from now. Like, what happens then?
So this particular question is called a consequence question or cost of inaction question. There's many different names you can give this type of phase or these types of questions, but they really come back to those main two things: cost of inaction, consequence, right? And what this is designed to do is, again, instill internal urgency, not external urgency, right? Old sales tactics like usually this training program outside of these calls is $15,000, but because you're here with me now, I think it's, I'm going to offer to you for $10,000. It's old, it's slimy, it's gross, it doesn't work anymore. And so you have to get the prospect again to internally inspire themselves, internally create that urgency. Otherwise, if we try and create it externally, we're going to have a lot of trouble. And so this particular question visually is getting the prospect to understand not only are they running towards, we've already explored that, but what they're also running from, right? What is the burning fire behind them so that they actually want to make the change and actually move? This is a very, very important part of the sales process.
We won't see the end of 2 years.
Okay. All right,
That is the person that's really, really, really getting the best of me at times.
Are you willing to settle for that?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. And I guess to you, whose decision is it to, change the situation or not?
Mine.
Okay.
Absolutely mine.
All right. Well, I think that's really what I need to hear. Right. Because what we're doing, actually would work for you.
I know.
Right? Because you know how you were talking about how, you want to start your own business in digital marketing so you can kind of get a level of automation so that you can get away from this night shift work that you've been doing. Because, with the night work that you've been doing, it's hard to catch up on sleep. It's not very good for your mental health. And I think you mentioned it's caused you to feel like just a little bit like depressed sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not afraid to say that. Yeah.
What's that doing to you?
Sorry?
What's that doing to you?
Oh, no, it's destroying my self-worth and my reason for living.
Something I want to know here, guys, is that's a very intense level answer. Now, granted, you can say this prospect is very open, and he absolutely is. I'm not going to say all my questions and the way that I am has allowed that to happen. He is definitely a very open prospect. However, my questions have absolutely contributed to that, and the way that I've treated the sales call and the conversation as a whole, within 18 minutes of meeting this prospect who I've just met, we've gotten to this level of conversation. We've gotten to this level of sharing, right? Level of answer, level of detail of answers. And if you want to make more sales, you want to make more money, you want to be a good salesperson, it is the art and the idea of being able to take these conversations to this level as fast as possible, right? As fast as possible. If you can do that, you're going to make a lot of money.
So definitely say it's important for you to do something then, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I fully agree on that. Hence the reason I'm here.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. All right. Well, look, what I can do with your permission here is we can kind of go through step by step on how the actual framework works. So you can actually start changing the situation, like you mentioned, actually start getting to where you want to go. Would that help you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess based on what you mentioned, I will share my screen. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it too well, but really what I recommend based on what you mentioned and what you told me is the MBA 90-day Insider Program.
So we're about to head through the presentation, so hopefully you don't mind, but I'm going to pop this on at least 1.5x speed. I know with the Australian accent, a lot of people around the world may not be able to understand it super well, so I'm not going to put it at 2x, but we're going to speed this up a little bit because I think it's pretty boring, but I'll point out some key things that I do as well.
So what this is designed to do is, I'm not sure how much Noah had covered with you, but really what it's designed to do is to take you from where you are right now, so very little knowledge and skills and strategy, to getting to 10K per month as fast as you can possibly can, right? It's designed to get you those results within that box in that time frame. Right? We plot out with you exactly what you need to do at every single step so you don't miss anything, right? Now, did Noah talk you through like the investment structure and how that actually works?
I don't know. We didn't spend too much time on the call, but you did tell me the value. So yes.
Perfect. Okay. So there's a couple of ways you can go about it. So there's the 4,750 up front. There's the 2 by 2,600. Then there's the 3 by 1,900. Right. And you can kind of break those payments up so that you can kind of come in, start getting clients, and then pay the rest of the payment plan off anyway. Right. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So I want to be super clear on why I'm doing this here as well. So number one, the reason why I'm giving all the payment options available to the client then and there is because from memory, I was paid the same amount no matter which payment plan that I got. So really, even if he went on a 3 payment for the training program, it didn't really affect me. So I may as well offer it, because it didn't matter whether or not I collected more cash up front at this particular time for the particular compensation plan that I had at the time. So I pretty much just laid out the grounds, what the payment plans are, and then I moved forward from there. Now, a lot of people will be thinking, why do you put the price at the beginning of your presentation? I'm going to explain why. There are 2 ways you can go about revealing the price to the prospect in a sales call. You can put it at the beginning of your presentation, or you can put it at the end. In my opinion, it is a personal preference thing. I haven't seen any major key difference between whether or not it makes more sales or not. I do genuinely and truly think it is a personal preference thing, but I learned this idea from one of my mentors, Matt, and it's stuck with me to this day, and it's always worked for me much better than the other way. And so the reason why I like to put the price at the top of the presentation is the prospect usually a lot of times, as I'm going through what we offer, is going to be wondering, what is the investment? What is the price, right? That's usually what's going through people's head. I know specifically how I buy. I like to see the price first before everything that's included, because the main thing people are going to be thinking is, what does this cost? How expensive is it? Like, what's the price, right? And so I usually like to highlight the main objectives of the program, cover the investment structure. Usually I'll just cover the payment in full amount, and then I'll start moving forward and talking about my presentation from there. And I always just say, does that make sense? So they register the price, they know the objectives, and now they can just focus on the words that I'm saying around the presentation, around what it is that I'm offering. On the flip side, if you put the price at the bottom of your presentation, what you're waiting there is, in my opinion, you're creating some friction where a lot of salespeople like to say the price and quote unquote, shut up and be quiet. I've done this in the past and I didn't enjoy the feeling that I had while selling and using it. It's just not something that really vibes with me super well. And it doesn't make a lot of sense from the transition to the close and the commitment questions that I'll be going ahead and asking the prospect later on. So that's why I do it. That's the purpose of it. Just wanted to explain that just briefly.
Right. So there's really going to be a couple of things you're going to need, man, as far as like getting, filling that gap, like you mentioned, right? So the first thing is the tools, right? So you know how you're talking about with the previous things that you've been doing, like you just didn't have the funding for all these extra tools. You didn't know where to get them. It was quite complex and you didn't really kind of know what you're doing there, right? Especially like hypnotherapy business and things like that.
Yep.
So probably one of the biggest problems that most people have when they start their own marketing agency is that very thing, right? There's so many tools out there. It's very confusing and you don't.
So again, highlighting the ideal criteria of the solution that he spoke about earlier, and I'm putting that in my presentation.
What to use, how to use it, and also spend money where you don't have to and not getting confused, right? Losing money, right?
Indeed.
So what we do is we've basically taken everything that you need as far as paid tools, and we've put it into one software that we actually give you, right? Hand-picked, hand-done, all for you, for like students inside the program. So
Yep.
Once you're in, you won't, inside of those 90 days, you won't have to worry about where you're going to get the softwares, how much they cost, whatever it is, because we've done all that for you, and it's all in that one box, right? So we're talking like, landing page softwares, emails, texts, onboarding pages. We give you your own website, templates, everything's all imported on there. So that what that will basically allow you to do is negate all the costs with associated starting with the business, right? And shortcut the learning curve with actually getting the business to the result that you actually want, right? Are you with me on that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So the next thing that you're going to need is, like you mentioned, right? You know how you're talking about, before that, what kind of prevented you from getting results was having lack of strategy, lack of structure, and knowing exactly what to do at what time, right?
Again, highlighting, just giving him back what he told me during the discovery phase on exactly what he said that he wanted.
Yep. So what we do is we've taken Zane and Chelsea's 17 to 18 years of actual digital marketing experience, right? And running their own agencies, running campaigns. And we've broken it down and bottled it up to about 5 to 30-minute video trainings with systems, templates, processes, all formatted in a curriculum step by step. So it's all in an A to Z structure. So we're talking from the beginning of getting your ABN to getting clients and scaling, right? So there's no stone left unturned. So you can follow everything step by step, get rid of that procrastination so that you've got a very linear way from getting from where you are right now to actually getting results, right? Now, what that will mean to you is instead of kind of banging your head against the wall and spending hundreds or thousands on different trainings or structures or things like that, you're going to piece it together on your own. You're going to have everything in your hands, a click of a button, right? Import it straight into your account. So you don't have to worry or question if you're actually doing the right things that actually get you your first clients and actually make your first profits. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, the last thing that you're going to need is the support, right? So I guess, you know how I was saying before, like you have, a problem with, I guess accountability and procrastination. And sometimes you can get a little bit lost when you're just kind of thrown in the deep end, right? So what we've done is we've basically given you access to a bunch of support channels, right? So you get access to a live training call every single week, right? Now, that live training call, sometimes you may not be able to make that because you're working the night shift, right? So for example, what time do you start the night shift usually?
I leave here at 2:10 to get to work for 4 o'clock.
Okay, all right. So we actually have these training calls on, I think it's about 7 p.m. Sydney time, right?
Yep.
But here's the cool thing, right? You can actually watch those recordings afterwards, right, in your own time. However, if you've got a question or a concern, you can send that to the coaches and they'll review that live on the call for you.
So what I'm doing here is I'm pre-handling the objection that because he works night shift, he's not going to be able to make the calls. So I make it more enticing. I make it more ideal that he can watch the recordings in his own time, but also get the feedback that he needs one-on-one, right? Pretty simple, just handling that objection concern already.
To watch the recording backwards, right? So you won't really have a problem with, even if you can't attend those calls, you're gonna be able to ask questions in the second method, which is what we call the circle. So it's basically like a mentor in a pocket. So you're gonna have access to Zane, Chelsea, Joshua, and John, all of your coaches, basically whenever you need them, right? Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you can send through screenshots, videos, audio messages on anything that you're struggling with inside of the business, right? So you can message Zane directly. So anything to do with mindsets, business structure, accountability, your website, your landing pages, your marketing, getting clients, any concern you have, you're going to be able to send a message directly to your coach and actually get help on that, right? So Zane and Chelsea, digital marketing coaches. We have Joshua, who's a sales coach. And we also have John, right? So he's our tech and IT coach, right? And so John's basically going to be able to help you with any tech issues you have. You're going to be able to log in and have a Zoom call with him when you need it, so that you can actually move past that tech issue and constantly be moving, right? The last thing as well is you're going to get access to a community of over 120 plus other students that are doing the same thing as you, right? They're in the same position, or they've already, got the success that they're looking for with their agency, right? And also we've had people that come and work with us that are current agency owners as well, right? It's a big background of lots of people from all different kinds of backgrounds, all different kinds of jobs, all different kinds of problems, right? But at the end of the day, you're all on the same mission, vision, and journey. So you're going to have people that you can reach out to, same time zone, same country, right? That you can actually talk to about, what you're going through and what you're experiencing, right? Now, having that support in place, what that will basically give you the ability to do is, instead of just procrastinating like you talked about and further delaying actually getting results that you deserve, you're going to have someone there to hold you accountable, give you support when you need it, right? And have someone to make sure that you're constantly moving forwards and actually getting the results that, we kind of talked about, and actually start moving towards replacing your income with what you're doing now, right? Do you see how that could help?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is there any, questions on how all of that works?
From what no, not really. I was going to ask this. I said from what I could hear from the testaments and everything else, is that you can fairly quickly get things up and running.
So the first question I'll ask of the presentation is there any questions on how all that works? And so what we're doing is we're just kind of getting rid of all the concerns and getting them to all come up before we need to progress to either objection handling or closing, so that we decrease the chances of friction that there's going to be something that goes wrong between then and actually going and asking for the close. So super simple, but very, very important.
I mean, we've had students, get clients in 7 days or 24 hours, right? So it really just depends. That guy who got it in 24 hours and got everything working, he was quite experienced, right? So, there's experience behind it. We've also had like an 18-year-old called Colin, land like a 7,000 per month solar client in 7 days, right? So it can really just depend, can really vary. It just depends on, the training that you've done, how fast you implement things. It's really kind of up to you. That makes sense?
No, I can see that I can get it off the ground with the right sort of help. It's just the next 4 days I'll be out of camp, so it's going to be a bit of a shitter for me anyway. But it's all right. At least we know there's light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah,
exactly right. With everything there, do you feel like this is something that you can do that will actually get you to where you want to go?
So I'm going to ask him 2 questions. Do you feel like this is something that you can do to get to where you want to go? Do you feel like this is the answer for you? Do you feel like this is what you're looking for? And then I'm going to ask, why do you feel like it is though? And the intention of this is to get a tie down towards the solution. And this means moving forwards, once we get positive agreements on both these questions, we now have an in-principle agreement between me and the prospect that what I'm selling them is in their best interest. This is going to be good for objection handling. This is going to be good around going for the sale and going for commitment, right? It's good for a lot of things. And it's very, very important that you ask those questions at this stage.
I absolutely do.
Why do you feel like it could though?
Digital marketing is something I've never planned on working with or had any idea about. The thing that you guys advertise in your streaming and everything else is the same things that I've been taught with some of the training resources that I've gotten offline. Is a one-pager is the best way to actually attract somebody's attention. I'm a bit of an artist myself. I enjoy putting things together, so I enjoy drawing things, and so I can see the feasibility and the easiness of putting something together as well. It's not there's no science behind it. It's just finding things that attract. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, no, I broke away there for a second, but it's all good now.
Okay, no worries. All right, so that makes sense. So if it's something that you can do and it'll get you where you want to go, I really would say I don't really have too much else to go up with you. So it looks like we covered the basis of what you were actually looking for and kind of starting your own business. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so basically saying is I don't really have too much to go over with you. It looks like we covered the basis of what you were looking for and kind of starting your own marketing agency and getting the skills to do that. Right?
This is me pacing towards the close and asking for a commitment.
So what I'd like to do is, I guess if you're comfortable, is what we normally do with most students is we kind of just pull up the onboarding page, go through like the different payment structures and work out what's going to be best for you. Go through and just put through the admin information through and then process your investment and get everything in there so that I can arrange your onboarding, work with Ruby to make sure you get all your accounts, ASAP, right? Make sure that you've got everything in your hands so that you're actually able to start building this business and actually getting to where you want to go. And like you mentioned, kind of changing the situation. Like, would that be appropriate, or how would you like to proceed from here?
Yes. I just wanted to mention one more thing. I'm very pleased that this is located in Australia. A lot of the other things that I've done has been overseas, and with the time difference, it's really hard. And also financial becomes indicative. So no, US, I'm happy to go.
Okay.
Get the stuff sorted, paperwork sorted.
Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, because the conversion from USD to AUD is always quite rough sometimes as well.
Oh, it's up and down all the time.
Yes, no, it is. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just share my screen with you, right? So really, all it is like, for example, from like a logistical point of view, it's really like whatever works best for you, right? So there's the 3x1900, like we talked about. There's the 2x2600, and then there's the 4750 up front, right?
Again, a reminder, I don't typically advise to do this and just lay out all the payment plans for the prospect, but I didn't worry because I didn't get paid based off any different payment plans. I was just incentivized to get the sale over the line.
So they do add up to different values over time. So I think it's about a little bit over 5 there and a little bit below 6 here. I think about 5,700 over 3 months, something like that. So is there one that might work best for you, do you think?
The number one.
Number one, the upfront one?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. No worries. All right. So all it is some quick billing information. We'll go through and kind of get that done. So now you're going to not have to slap me through the screen here because I am from Tasmania. So we don't know how to pronounce first names or last names down there. Now, what was it? Was it Haynes? Okay. Okay.
This is super important. All the way down to making the actual sale itself, you want to be constantly diffusing, right? Which is really, really important. And we have to make sure that we are, again, before we haven't made the sale just yet. It may feel like we have, but again, diffusing, making jokes, bringing down resistance, bringing down the pressure, because typically at the time of taking payment details, it is a stressful situation for most people. And a lot of people can feel pressure in these times. So you want to take it slow, you want to take it calm, and you also want to be cracking jokes just like I did, which usually tends to work pretty well.
So that's a bit of a difficult one.
Okay, I apologize. No worries.
It's extremely common in the northern hemisphere, but it's just there's New Zealand and Australia.
So not here in Australia. Definitely not here in Tasmania. We're definitely a small bunch over there, a small community. So would the email that I send everything to, would that be?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, perfect. Now, what's the billing address on that one at the moment?
Physical address or?
Yeah, so like it would be like the billing information that you'd have on like your card and things like that.
The only thing is I'm going to have to get my wife to transfer the money over. I haven't got access to the savings account.
Okay.
So it won't go through straight away. I may have to let you know as soon as she's done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you a card number.
Yep. So the card number. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that pretty much concludes the recording. So you're probably wondering, well, Connor, where did that call actually end up? Well, very good question. So I got the card details, and he went to his wife or his partner in the same day, and he paid in full about like 6, 7, 8 hours later, something like that. And most salespeople with a situation like that, in fact, a lot of beginners will freak out and think that is actually an issue. But there are different levels of commitments you can get from a prospect, around 5. So you have what's called a paid in full, you have a payment plan, you have a deposit, you have actual credit card digits, which is the final, the second last commitment that I got here, which worked just fine because I just processed it later on in the day with all the other details that was relevant. And then the last one is a verbal agreement, which obviously the verbal agreement is the verbal commitment is the least likely and the weakest commitment there in the tree. So he ended up paying later that day, and it ended up being a pretty good sales call with about 34 minutes in total from, hey, what's going on, to taking around, $4.9, $5,000. Okay. So again, hopefully you enjoyed that full length live call recording breakdown. If you did, and you're looking for someone to help you transition into the high ticket sales space, you're looking for someone to help you transition from your current career, your 9 to 5, to high ticket sales, the professional way, the right way, and you're looking to work with someone with experience and a ton of social proof and results, case studies on the YouTube channel, Trustpilot reviews, and all the reviews plastered across my Instagram, then there's a link down below in the description box with a type form and an application form to speak to me and my team to see if we can possibly help you. We've worked with well over 200 clients in this space now, just in a little bit over a year and 3 months, and I'd love to help you as well. So if you feel like you might be a fit, go ahead and apply through the application and the type form below. But otherwise, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you got some value, and I'll see you guys in the next one.